We have 1 minute till public participation. At this time, no one has signed up to participate with the public comments, but morning. It is 9:30. We'll open the May 15th County Council meeting for public participation. And in checking, we have no one who has filled out a card to speak at this time.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So we will adjourn this and see you back here at 10 o'clock for the scheduled County Council meeting. Good morning. We will be starting the council meeting in 1 minute and 32 seconds. Good morning. We have T minus 20 seconds. Morning, Charles. Good morning. That 20 seconds went by very quickly. I was miscalculating on the amount of time it was going to take, but welcome to the May 15th, 2018 Volusia County Council meeting. We'll call the meeting to order at this time. And this morning we have the Rabbi Bruce Tucker of the Beth Judah Messianic Congregation of Ormond Beach to offer our invocation. Followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask the council to stand for the pledge. Those of you who like may do also.
Thank you for the tremendous privilege of doing what I'm doing today. I always like to begin these times where I have an opportunity to be in our civil government to remember the name of Nicholas Golding, my nephew, who was killed in Afghanistan, and it always gives me pause for what a tremendous privilege and opportunity we have for freedom in our midst today. So we take a moment and we breathe, and we rest in our safety, and we give thanks. I'd like to start with the ancient chant that brings us all together as nations today. Melech Hosea, Umashiach Umagain, Baruch atah Adonai, Magain Avraham. O King, Helper, Savior, and Shield, blessed are you, O Lord, Shield of Abraham. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we also remember today that you called Abraham in his later years to be the father of many nations. And we pray for peace in our nations. Wait and see what the chair is going to tell us what to do next.
Well, I hope it's not a tornado alert. Okay.
You're on a funny day on Yom Kippur last year, and this has never happened before. About half a dozen times an Amber Alert came through on the day of Yom Kippur, which means somebody help us. And that's a part of our prayer today. And it kept going on and on. So, Father, on this day, we pray for the peace of Jerusalem in the words of Psalm 122. May those who love you be at peace and secure. May there be peace within your walls, quietness within your palaces. For the sake of my brothers and friends, I now say, peace be with you. For the sake of the house of Adonai our God, I will seek your good. And we remember that Abraham, father, was called to be the father of many nations, in many cities, in many counties, in many homes. So, Father, we pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and we pray for the healing of the dead in Gaza. We pray for the peace of our world and for those who are suffering today. We pray for the peace of Volusia County. May those who love her be secure. So, Father, we ask for the security of life. We ask you for abundant life. We ask you, Father, for the wisdom to work for peace today, for love today, for the wisdom to bring life and peace into every household of Volusia County. We pray for those today, Father, who walk in love, and we pray for those who walk in harm. And we pray for those who walk with evil intent, that we may have peace in our land. Thank you, Father, for all who have sacrificed to bring us to this great opportunity where we may work today in safety, in abundance, for every household and every head of household in our county. And by your wisdom and by your grace and by your power, may this not be by might, nor by our power, but by your Spirit, O Lord of hosts. And we remember also the words of Jesus, who prayed in his last day, may we be brought to complete unity, that the world may know the love of the God over all. And we pray these things today in the name of salvation, and let us say, Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and understand that anyone who would like to offer the invocation before a meeting, you're welcome to do so. Contact our deputy clerk, and she will make sure that that happens. At this time, we'll have the roll call, Marcy.
Mr. Patterson?
Here.
Ms. Post?
Here.
Ms. Wheeler? Ms. Kuzak? Ms. Denny's? Mr. Lowry?
Here.
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have the comments on the consent agenda items. I know Councilmember Patterson would like to have a comment on item P. Mr. Deneen,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
items.
I have the following items. We actually have a number because of the size of the agenda and the size of some of these items. Jan Cornelius is here from the appraiser's office to speak, make a few comments on C, to talk about their new digs that we moved them to. We're also going to make some quick comments on E, F, O, P, and V.
Did you say O, P, and D, or O, P, and?
V. O,
V.
P, and V, V like in Victor.
Okay. Mr. Denny's.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to pull item E, talk with staff about that for presentation, so thank you.
Item, which one?
E, but staff has recognized that. Thank you.
Okay, you want to pull it, even though he's commenting, you want to pull it?
For presentation, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to congratulate the staff on the tremendous job on putting this park that's gonna go up in the Pearson area, because we don't have a boat ramp or anything like that park on Lake George up there, and it's gonna be a real
Agenda
Tremend-
item
P.
P,
P.
okay.
P is in Peter Cottontail. But it's gonna be a tremendous park, and it's something that's been needed for a long time, and the two gentlemen that donated the land, we didn't have to buy the land, it's over $1 million worth of land that was donated to the county, and this park is gonna be real, if you look at the design that's going in, it's gonna be wonderful. And there's not any general fund money going into this park, so
Correct.
that even makes it even sweeter. We got a lot of state money from the Florida Navigation District and ECHO money, so money well spent. I just thanks to staff, Tim Bailey, and everybody that was involved.
Mr. Chair, seeing that we're going to pull that, if you'd like, I'll take Tim out of order, and he'll show you the map and show you the improvement that Ms. Patterson. Tim? This has been a long time coming. In fact, they originally approached the county about us wanting to buy the property back about 2010, made a donation to the county in 2013, and it's the first access that our citizens will have to Lake George.
Now, this is item E, right?
P.
P,
P like
okay.
in Paul.
But
Shell Harbor.
E came up, I thought.
P like in Paul.
Right, but
There we go. Morning, Mr. Chair, Honorable County Council members. I'm Tim Bailey, Parks, Recreation, Culture Director. Before you today is the design for Shell Harbor. That's the park that Mr. Patterson was describing. It's on the southeastern shores of Lake George. It would be Volusia County's only public access to that lake. For the benefit of the council, it's the second largest lake in the state. It's a real true gem, for Volusia County and for us to have access to it. What you see before you is the design. There is a parking area for boat trailers and vehicles. The boat trailer or boat launch is up in the upper right-hand corner. There's also a floating dock for canoe and kayak access. There's a restroom. There's vehicular parking. There's a promenade along the seawall for folks to either walk along, sit, just staring at the water, or fish. And then the roadway in through the whole park here is all paved. So it's a great addition to Volusia County.
It's also an eagle nesting area, considered one of the second largest, I guess, on the
That's right.
eastern United
Right.
States.
That's
So,
right, next to Alaska.
is a-
That's right.
So,
It's a gorgeous piece of property. It's 9 acres. And so it'll allow people to not just launch boats, but to picnic up there, to have access to the lake, which they do not have today. We did not have the money. We could not afford to buy it because of the amount of money also that would go into improving it. And they made a donation, and we put all the money, as we said we would. No general fund money, but put all the money, it's almost $2 million into improving it so people can really use it.
a great asset for the entire county.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
And
You
then
wanna-
I have, C is probably the next one, Mr.
Right.
Chair. Jan, would you like to come up?
Good morning. I'm Jan Cornelius, the Chief Deputy Property Appraiser. Mr. Bartlett wanted to be here, but he is at a required conference, week-long conference, so couldn't make it. So he did want me to say a few words to the council regarding our pending move to 921 North Nova Road. As you know, our Daytona office was destroyed, flooded out. That was a very busy office for us. It had a lot of taxpayer interaction. It has 2 residential appraisal districts, our tangible personal property department, a portion of our records division, and a portion of our commercial department. In all, about 27 of our people. So after the aftermath of Hurricane Irma, we were scrambling to salvage anything we could from from the building. We were looking for space for everyone and trying to continue our workload. I know we weren't alone in that. The Revenue Department, Veteran Services, Community Services, and the Sheriff's Department were all doing the same thing. I'd really like to thank, and I would like the council to know, how extremely accommodating and welcoming all the other departments in the county were to our plight. If they had space, they offered it. With the help of George Baker, we looked at the Ormond Beach Library, we looked at the airport, both EOCs, Growth and Resource Management, and the Ocean Center for temporary space. We ended up splitting most of our Daytona folks between the old DOC and Growth and Resource Management. And also the county IT department did a fantastic job of getting computer and phone lines into temporary space so that we could get up and running quickly. So our Daytona office is an integral part of our operation. It also serves the taxpayers, excuse me, sorry. It also serves the taxpayers of Ormond Beach, Holly Hill, South Daytona, Port Orange, and Ponce Inlet. We hope to move into this building prior to our notices of proposed property taxes going out, which is August 17th. So that's a very tight window. That way, the taxpayers in this area will have a place to go. Right now, we have Holzenbach, but that's a very small area. The health department has given us some space. So the approval of this lease is really crucial to that goal of trying to get in before trim. And it's been a long haul for our Daytona folks. They're really ready to get back together in a functional work environment. Many have come today to see the result of this agenda item. And we just want to thank the council for their consideration. And we hope that you approve this lease. It would really mean a lot to us.
Thank you very much. You have a comment, Mr. Deneen, on F?
Actually, E first.
E is going to be pulled. I'd rather comment when
Okay.
it's pulled.
F would be Donna Butler. Donna?
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of council. Donna Butler, Community Services Director. This is a nice project to bring forward to you all. Normally, we have CDBG funds and we just get an allocation and that's what we get. This time, this is CDBG DR, which is disaster recovery, and we have the opportunity to compete for some additional funds to help our residents repair some homes that might still be damaged from Hurricane Matthew. It's been a long time that we've been waiting. We apologize for getting the application to you a little late, but we didn't get it until after our deadlines, and we had to make sure that everything was done according to the guidelines to meet those things. So $22 million is available. We're applying for $3.4 million. We plan to spend that on the low and moderate income individuals who have mobile homes, manufactured homes, and then also some single family homes as well. So we look for your approval of this application, and if awarded, we will come back to you for the appropriation and a little bit more plan as to how we will deliver the services.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. Item O.
Tad?
Good morning, Tad Kaysbeer, interim county engineer. The agreement you have before you is an agreement between ourselves and the Department of Transportation in which they'd provide up to $5 million in funding for design build of what we call 4A of the East Central Regional Rail Trail Program. Runs from DeBary on the west side of the county all the way over to Cow Creek on the east side and down to Brevard as well. Sections 4B and 5 are finishing completion now. This section will allow us to complete the trail all the way from the east side over to the west side. Sue, do you have that exhibit? That's it. In the middle section in there, you can see it. It's the 3.6 miles that's highlighted in green. That's the last part we have to complete. The design build project take approximately, with this, we'll be able to hire a design build team. That'll take about 6 months. And then design portion of it, construction of it will take about 12 months to 16 months. So, any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? We'll now go to item Z or D?
V like
V.
in Victor. John?
Morning, Mr. Chair. Mike Ulrich, Water Resources and Utilities Director, playing the role of John and Julie today. In any event, I'm very pleased to discuss this agenda item. This is a working cooperative venture with St. Johns River Water Management District. Abby Johnson is here from the Water Management District. You're all familiar with Abby. This is a very interesting process. Unique to Volusia County, but not unique to the rest of Florida in terms of wetland recharge areas that exist throughout the area. We have a Springs Protection Act of 2016 that was done by the Florida legislature. And what we're attempting to do in this type of thing, this project, is study the potential for recharge in the Springs area of Volusia, Volusia Blue. If the feasibility study proves successful, we'll look to the potential funding with the Department of Environmental Protection for the recharge of up to 2 to 4 million gallons per day into this area. Of course, this is very early preliminary feasibility to see if this will work. The district has come to us and asked us to sponsor this, but we have partnered with the cities of DeLand, Deltona, Orange City, and several other initiatives over the years, and they have all expressed a willingness and cooperation to participate in this as well. But the district asked for one sponsor rather than 4 separate agreements. So bringing this to you today, the study will probably take about 20 to 24 weeks to complete, and we'll be able to come back and give you some of the results as a result of that. I introduce Abby if she'd like to speak for a moment, or if you want to remain a silent partner, it's up to her, whatever you would like.
I think most of us have spoke to her this morning. We see her all the time, which is great. We really appreciate when she brings the check and she says there will be one coming. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Okay, that's all of those. We to have a motion to approve the consent agenda absent item E.
So moved.
Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion passes unanimously. Let's go to item E. And
Tim?
Morning. Tim Bailey, once again, Parks Director. Okay, so before you, in the agenda item, really it's just appropriating the $1.1 million that was set aside for from ECHO to develop a trailhead and trail in the New Smyrna Beach area right at the Marine Discovery Center. So next slide here is the conceptual plan for the trailhead location, which is in red there. I'll show you the design of the restroom here. This is a prototype of what that restroom would look like. If you've been to either Osteen Civic Center or the New Smyrna Beach Sugar Mill Ruins, the prototype at that location will be very similar to the restroom at this location, this trailhead restroom at this location. This is the alignment going from the restroom, which will parallel the parking area along Quay Assisi, and then it will turn to the south on Barracuda. The bridge there will be reconstructed to allow for the trail to be extended over the bridge, and then it will connect across the North Causeway to an existing sidewalk that takes you to Beachside as well as connects to the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. That's the backbone of the 5-county River to Sea loop. That's the county as well as the other 4 counties along the St. Johns River to Sea loop are working on developing right now. And that's pretty much it in terms of what that site's going to look like.
So,
Ms. I was going to recognize you.
Recognize me.
Ms. Denny's.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason I want this pulled is because this conversation started a couple years ago, Tim, I believe. And it was birthed from, we have another trail called the Coast to Coast Connector that goes from the east to the west coast. Well, the Coast to Coast Connector on the east side either starts or stops south of us, right, in Brevard. So coming back from a regional meeting with our executive director of TPO, we were talking and said, well, why don't we just build our own spur? What if we build our own trailhead? If we're not on the connector, why don't we create the trailhead and put us on the Coast to Coast Connector and put us on the map? And that's what started several years ago. So we met with the city of New Smyrna, the city of Edgewater, because this will connect with Edgewater, the trailhead we just opened on top of the other one behind, because Edgewater had already bought the easements behind South Campus of Daytona State. So we had to figure this piece out. Well, then, when FDOT is going to redo that bridge, it all worked out. And then the city of New Smyrna just happened to be redoing that whole causeway project. So we didn't have to put any money into trails or widening any of that. We are literally filling the gaps and connecting the gaps. But this will put all of Volusia County on the map, not just in the St. John River to Sea Loop, but the Coast to Coast Connector. And then the question was, originally it was, well, we want to take it all the way to the beach. Well, there's no parking. What are you going to do down there? Well, then we have the Marine Discovery Center that has land. It's just at the right place at the right time. So that was kind of genius from the folks from the city of New Smyrna sitting there when we talked about this. And then if you choose to ride your bike to the beach, you can do that, trail or no trail. When you're mobile, you're going to go where you choose to go anyway. So this is a great asset for all of Volusia County on this trail system and the apps. This is another anchor for all of us. So this is one we've been working on for several years. And that's why I just thought it was so important. And this only happened again because of collaboration, not just the county, this two cities of New Smyrna and Edgewater working collaboratively with them behind the scenes. So this is a great project, and council, I just wanted the public to see what we've been doing behind the scenes and see it come together. So that's why. And with that, I will make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Denny, second by Patterson. Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion passes unanimous. We will now move to item 2. And that would be a presentation of the final recommendation from
Mr.
the
Chair?
beach. Yes, sir. Oh,
What we'll do is have Clay, you want to introduce Tony Grippa, and then they could go through the presentation.
Good morning. Clay Irvin, Director of Growth and Resource Management. It's been my pleasure to be the staff liaison for the Beachside Redevelopment Committee that initiated its meeting in June. Here today is Mr. Grippa to do a presentation on behalf of the board with their final recommendations. If there's any questions for staff, I'm available, but Mr. Grippa will be handling the majority of the presentation.
Thank you, commissioners or council persons. First of all, it's like old home week anytime I'm at a county commission meeting, except this time I don't have to deal with the midnight phone calls. I don't have to deal with the angry people on both sides of an issue. And so I think first we'd like as a committee to thank you for your service. I don't think anyone has as much respect as our committee does for everything you have done for the community. I could take you through all 40 slides, and my sense is you'll fall asleep. So what I'd like to maybe do is to hit a couple of them, turn it over to Frank Molnar, speak a little bit about the financial aspects of what we did, and then maybe I can finish up, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. I know how busy everyone is. You know, when this committee, a little history about how this committee came together, I was talking with the chairman at an event, and he was asking me what I was doing after I announced my retirement from Brown & Brown, and I said, well, you know, I'd like to get involved. We started talking about what are the issues facing the community as he was running, and one of the big ones was obviously Beachside and how Beachside is being utilized. And so the idea of a committee came together, And thanks to the leadership of the county council, there's a committee in place that spent a number of late nights going through ideas and listening to the public, and I think some really good things came out of it. We had a couple things I think are of note just in the structure of the committee. Extremely diverse. I would tell you in the history of committees I've seen, you have neighborhood advocates, Sons of the Beach, CEO of a publicly traded development company, community activists, and one of the things that was remarkable, there was not one vote, not one final vote that wasn't unanimous. So our thought process is if we all can agree as a committee, as diverse as we were, then hopefully the Volusia County Council and the affected cities will also be able to come together. The second remarkable thing about the committee really is the county staff and the amount of time they put in. And I can't tell you, having worked and represented Leon County, the talent that you all enjoy is second to none. And I think it'd be worthwhile to at least mention a couple of them. The presenters, Don Poor and Corey Brown and Arlene Smith, we really appreciated the time you took. And then, you know, from a staffing point, Jeff Crumbly, who had to teach us to turn on the microphone and at what point in time people might not be watching or are watching. He's a very, very hard worker. Brianna Peterson, Sarah Presley, who kept us all organized. Thank you, Sarah, for all your hard work and dealt with my email issues for a while. And then, you know, last but certainly not least, you have a great talent in Clay Irvin. The fact that he comes from two perspectives, a public perspective, but a private perspective, and his ability to take a very diverse group and then in real time synopsize a number of different ideas into what we think is a real coherent, comprehensive plan and simple plan. So Clay, hopefully I just got you and your group a raise. I would be here that day if there's any discussion, because I could tell you have a real gem there. With that, the clicker, I just go to the, and I'm going to move quickly. If I could, if you would like me to slow down, let me know. That is a letter, an introductory letter that's signed by the committee that outlines an overview. You have it in front of you. You all are able to read. Table of contents. Let's go through a couple of. We looked at it really two ways. One is from a corridor, and that was Miriam Diaby's idea, which her transportation planning was invaluable and her background and leadership. But look at it from a corridor perspective, and then from there, look at it from an operational. What are some of the things that could be done? And you know, in general, Clay then put it into, here are some of the key components: landscape, hardscape, medians, underground utilities, and what are the areas and what are the top priorities? We all agreed that by far the number one priority is finishing East International Speedway Boulevard. That is the gateway to the city and a gateway to the beach. Second is the Main Street improvements. Tied second is an RFP on some land that's sitting vacant around the Ocean Center, which this county invested mightily in, that hopefully would reach great returns by investing around it. And then A1A. If you look at other communities, A1A is an amenity. A1A is the most expensive land in the entire area. That's not the case. So there's some improvements that could be done there. The policy recommendations: enhanced code enforcement, provision of facade grants, enhanced policing, and maybe coordinating of policing between the Beach Patrol and City of Daytona Beach. I spent 4 hours with Chief Capri at City of Daytona Beach, and I will tell you, he is A, a good man, B, he is working extremely, extremely hard, but I think he would be the first to tell you assistance would be welcomed. So incentives for residential redevelopment, and then keeping the neighborhoods engaged. One of the things I was very impressed, and we, as a Beachside Committee, were impressed, was the really good input we got from the citizens. And Commissioner Wheeler was at every single meeting, and we did not have one person who came up that was rude. We did not have one person that did not have a good idea. And we're proud to say we took public testimony from each and every individual as they came up. So very quickly, we start from Ormond Beach all the way to through Daytona Beach Shores. As you can see, on Granada Boulevard, the things the Beachside Committee is recommending is lighting, crosswalks, bike paths, updated signals. Just a couple notes, there's a strong interest to do something with the Food Lion that's there, and then and they already have a viable facade program. Seabreeze Boulevard. This area is outside the CRA. There needs to be a balance between residential, entertainment, and professional office uses in this area, and really enhance code enforcement, provide facade grants, enhance policing, incentives for residential redevelopment, quarterly meetings with neighborhood groups. Oak Ridge Boulevard, landscape, hardscape, lighting, crosswalks, bike paths, and it's on the northern boundary of the Main Street CRA. But this area needs to be coordinated with Seabreeze Boulevard because the two communities are interconnected. Traffic calming was a major issue. Main Street. This is a second-ranked project, and if you think of Main Street in a community, I challenge you to say that Daytona Beach Main Street is what comes to mind. And is a huge opportunity there. I would ask you just to look at New Smyrna and what's been accomplished in Commissioner Deb Denny's district. I'd ask you to look at DeLand and look at Main Street, or the Main Street in DeLand. There needs to be, in my opinion, and our opinion within the committee, there needs to be a focus on Main Street. As goes Main Street, as goes this area. And a couple things jump out. It's in a CRA, it has TIF, it has the E-zone plan, it is a county road. Somebody may tell you, well, that we gave the city the maintenance, blah, blah. It is a county road. Those are simple agreements that have been made for maintenance. But that doesn't change the responsibility for that important road. It's actually in close proximity to the Ocean Center, which had $80 million recently invested in it by the county. And if you really think about a vision for Main Street, one thing we all agreed on is that if that area is able to become 365 days a year and not event-driven, then you're going to find the local community embraces it, tourists embrace it. And I challenge you that when you're talking, and you can bring Don Poor in here, who did an excellent presentation, where are the people going to lunch when they're at the Ocean Center coming into our community? Where do they walk to? Where do they walk safely to? Okay? So Main Street is key to all of this, and the good news is we, not I, not my, we, all of us, the taxpayers, the county, and the city, own the land abutting Main Street and the Ocean Center, right next to the Peabody. Okay, next slide. This was ranked first, International Speedway Boulevard. Frank Molnar and Rodney Cruz and Miriam Biabi have done great things to move this along. The county council has been behind this. The city of Daytona has been behind this. We did not want to lose focus. This is the gateway to the beach side. And so we wanted to make sure, and everybody was on board, this was the #1 priority. Silver Beach Avenue, the old Orange Avenue is being replaced by the new Tomstead Veterans Memorial Bridge, as you all know. You know, there were needs. The needs were not as great as some of the other ones, but lighting, bike paths, crosswalks, landscape, hardscape. Dunlawton. Really, we were hard pressed to find too much. You know, we went through, provide some facade grants, but really very well done. The lighting, the way it connects to communities. A1A, and look at some of the pictures up there, just so you can get a sense of what A1A might look like. Right now, as you look at A1A, do you feel like it's pedestrian friendly? You know, Paul Zimmerman, who unfortunately couldn't be here because his brother had a stroke, and please think of him in your prayers. Paul Zimmerman brought out numerous occasions is that zoning's allowing buildings to build right on top of A1A. There's no pedestrian walkways. There's no bike paths. So we have to look at A1A as an opportunity for economic development, for bike paths, for people being able to walk up and down the beach. And again, if you look at other communities, not far away, if you go up to Jacksonville Beach, it looked a lot like this particular area 20 years ago. It doesn't anymore. If you looked at Destin, Florida, doesn't anymore. Vero Beach, does not anymore. There has got to be an investment in A1A. Now you would say, well, it's a state road. Let's get it on the CIP list. And it's just so important. One of the things that Charles Lichtenman brought up was a coordinating lighting program for the beaches. You should know you're on beachside. Something where the bridges can be utilized that says, welcome to our beaches, regardless of what city you're in, but have that common theme and feeling, and that was unanimously supported by the committee. We go into the specifics. One of the things was traffic calming, develop a plan to ensure businesses have sufficient and safe access to loading areas. David Lamont rightfully pointed out that in the middle of the day, somebody can just block A1A. Most cities have times that that's allowed and not allowed. And one key thing here that Frank Molnar talked about, and as we get to the other pieces of land that we own as a group, is if you look at the Wynwood Arts District of Miami, that was a slum. That was a warehouse district. There's a huge opportunity if you can create a pedestrian environment to have things like an art district. Incentivize redevelopment of the west side A1A. Crossing A1A, I mean, you know, safety is the number one priority. There has to be something whereby there's a rhyme or reason. I know that's something we have to work with DOT with, but please keep it on your radar. We then go through the corridors. I know you can read this, so I don't want to just read what's up there. And I talked about it as a whole, but really this was the third ranked project. This is the epicenter. This is where your ocean center is, and the other various components of it. And I'm gonna get through the A1A stuff, so I'll kill you. Okay, so redevelopment projects. The core of Daytona needs to be addressed first. This is the area from Seabreeze to Silver Beach. I think you have to take a swift action now. And if you look at the two pieces of land that is owned, sitting off the tax rolls, subsidized by all the taxpayers, the city owns on one side of the Peabody, the county owns on the other one. If you took that with the other landowners around the area, there's a huge opportunity, but it won't happen. It won't happen if we don't start talking about it. The two pieces of land that are sitting there could be utilized as an incentive to bring in outside development, to put together a competitive process, one that the county's involved with and the city's involved with. Other communities use things like redevelopment authorities. They use things like parking authorities. Elected officials are on ground one, mayor, chair, potentially take on this, as opposed to saying, okay, well, let's do an RFP to find somebody who can do an RFP, to find somebody, and let's just put it on Demand Star and somebody will come back. This is going to take more of a collaborative effort. It's going to take vision and it's going to take leadership. Now, you would say, well, the other thing it's going to take, Tony, is money. And so we have to be careful about that. Look, totally agree. I have thoughts about, and I've been through the county budget, where I think there might be opportunities for money. There's certainly, we have to call on our state legislators. There's a lot of talk, but it'd be nice, and there's plenty of issues that occur in Tallahassee, but, you know, Hyatt used to say the world runs on green, and Volusia County needs its fair share of projects. And we went through, at one of the meetings, Commissioner Wheeler got to see what Volusia County got versus like-sized counties, and we don't get our fair share, okay? So at some point, there has to be a coordinated effort among the cities, the counties, to go up together, and the business community to go up together and to ask for our fair share, okay? Right now, I bet if you looked at all the cities and all the counties together, this is a guess, you're spending, and including staff, you're probably spending close to $1 million a year on lobbyists, okay? If you were to look at all 16 cities, all have their separate, a lot of them have separate lobbyists, some of them use the same, but they're all paying separately. You look at the in-house folks, it's $1 million. I'd like to see something, and I'm not trying to make a black and white blanket statement. I'd like to see more, and I think to the extent when you, and I'm happy to talk to the legislators because they're my friends as well, but it's time to start talking about bringing home the bacon for Volusia County. With that to talk about, and I'll come back to the presentation, talk about a couple of the financial issues. We're going to our financial expert on the committee, Frank Molnar, who's also the head of the Economic Development Committee for the Chamber.
Thank you. Well, Tony's a tough act to follow, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So, County Chair, County Councilman, Councilwomen, appreciate the opportunity. I had brought a slide. I don't know if you're able to put that up or not. All of you are thinking of, you know, why the core area of Daytona Beach? You know, why do we want to put our money in there? Tony had mentioned a little bit about the Ocean Center. Obviously, that's a huge investment. This is a report each one of you have that Larry Bartlett had done, showing basically the assessed values of residential and commercial properties in beachside of Daytona Beach. And based on, from 10 years ago, on the assessed value of that property, we're down about $700 million. So if you wanted real value, we're probably down closer to $1 billion in tax value for the core of Daytona Beach. This area, there's so many great things happening on Volusia County. Everybody's, well, things happening on the west side, and you know, we talked a little bit about Ms. Denny's district there in New Smyrna. I mean, you don't have to go far. We don't have to go to Clearwater or Fort Lauderdale, things happening around the state. There's other beachfront communities in Volusia County that are thriving. As many of you know, off of Flagler Avenue, you can't get anything within walking distance off of Flagler Avenue under $500,000 now. 10 years ago, it was not that. That area, now they're wondering, how can we slow down growth? Because everybody wants to be in New Smyrna. Go to the other side of the beach side, look at Ormond Beach. I have a friend of mine that spent $350,000 for a lot on Neptune, which is not on a golf course, not on the river, not on the ocean, to build a $600,000 house. I mean, things are happening all around this area. You look at downtown DeLand. This area, as many of you know, a lot of great things are happening. East ISB, we started working on that with the Daytona Beach Chamber 4 years ago. And we said, what one project can we pick that'll have the biggest impact in the entire city of Daytona Beach? And we came up with East ISB. We said, we're going to try to get East ISB. Well, we started talking about people like, are you crazy? Nothing's ever going to happen there. You know, so 4 years later, you can see that the city of Daytona Beach has stepped up to the tune of about $3.5 million committed so far for East ISB, looking at acquiring some of the land for the roundabouts, going into a partnership with FDOT. They've put up $750,000 for the engineering. It's going to obviously take more time to get that done, but that is going to be such a huge catalyst for the entire beachside community. And there's just some great things that are happening. Obviously, the Ocean Center, you take a look at some of the construction projects. Many of you have been to the new Hard Rock. I mean, there was a property that was the nastiest hotel in Volusia County to now it's probably one of the best, I would say. You take a look at the assessed value, what that does for taxes for the county, for the city, for the schools. There was a building that was assessed at $5 million, and it'll probably be assessed at $50 million. You know, there's $200 million in new construction going on right now with that large Russian project going on. There's another $100 million of renovations going on for other area hotels. There's a Renaissance proposed that's going to be starting construction this fall. There's a proposed Westin that they're looking at spending $50 to $60 million in that core area. The time is now to come together as a community, as a county, as a city. How can we work together to bring this into our crown jewel of our entire community? And I hope that we'll be able to do that. And working with the city of Daytona Beach and working with the county, and as Tony mentioned, the other developers, things are moving in the right direction by all of us working together. I think we can create great things in the beach side. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I think we have a couple of questions.
Okay. Well, can
Are you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I'm just going to wrap up real quick. I always like the microphone last. Can we get back to the thing?
But, I will,
I've learned-
you have exceeded your 4 minutes I gave you. But that was a
That's true.
joke.
We did have
That was a joke.
we had a bet. Anyway, I'm going to take it, just get to the picture here, just so we can go into the Main Street project, so you have a sense of it. But those, if you could look at the Ocean Center, and then look at the two vacant lots, and then look at the Peabody in the middle, and then that road at the bottom is Main Street. If that is not a redevelopment opportunity, I do not know what is. And that could be the genesis of a lot of the things that we have in here. I'm just going to walk you through. The operational recommendations are really important. Code enforcement, and we're going to be presenting in front of the Daytona Beach Commission, but I could tell you the neighbors are angry. They should be. And there has to be a more active approach. My understanding is that approach already has been taken. Houses are starting to be condemned. The property appraiser and the Larry Bartlett and the county staff deserve to be commended by giving more tools to the cities as a result of the discussion at the Beachside Committee, to be able to make sure that they could put on the tax lien the many fines and improvements that would need to be put in place. The second is homestead exemption fraud. And this one personally pisses me off, because there's somebody with 6 people in their house, they're renting it out, they're claiming a homestead, and oftentimes they don't live in our community, which means what? We're all paying more. Your property appraiser has 2 people dedicated to this, and I think the number was in excess of $7 million that they've been able to find, and we congratulate you all for taking that. We're asking that you look at even maybe a greater investment and coordination with the City of Daytona's Code Enforcement Board on that specific issue. Public safety, lighting, coordinating efforts between the Beach Patrol and the City of Daytona Police. And then the intergovernmental coordination, I think I already talked about, and the solicit of proposals. One of the key zoning law changes that is in the report that Charles Lichterman worked with your staff on gives the ability to somebody to redevelop to the same density and rights they had prior to, rather than having to go under a new law, which we think will be a major game changer. We talk about neighborhood stabilization, very, very important. Establish a local heroes program, incentivize those who want to purchase and reside. You have to have people living on Beachside in order for them to be able to attend and go to restaurants and do the things we want. Pedestrian safety, homeless issue. This county has stepped up, and then the City of Daytona Beach has stepped up. I believe once that's built out by the jail, that'll be a huge, huge opportunity for us. With that, the rest is stuff for you to read, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry I took so long.
Thank you. Well, you took the time you spent developing this was well worth it, I think, for all of us to see the efforts and hear what you've accomplished, and being involved with the residents of those communities and listen to what they say, which is exactly our job. So with that, Ms. Post has, I think, a comment, a question.
I do have a comment. I would like to thank the Beachside Development Committee for your initiative and certainly your dedication this entire time for improving the blight and the visual impact of Volusia, and in essence, improving the quality of life and the future of Volusia County. But the big thing that I would like to really thank you for is bringing the conversation to the forefront, and then not leaving it at a conversation, but actually bringing us a plan of action. You know, all too often, all we hear is talk and not a lot of, you know, plan of action. So this is a really pivotal time for Volusia, and I think it's very important that we don't drop the ball, and especially in our collective leadership. It's not one big sparkly project that's actually going to make this happen, but it's as you mentioned, it's collaboration. I think that is the key effort here. Collaboration, enforcement, and those are the things that we need to keep going. And but thank you for your efforts, and again, it's very important that we don't drop the ball on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Wheeler.
I also want to just thank you so much for the initiative and then putting this together and sticking with it for a year. And all of the people that were involved in this was such a key element of this whole thing. First of all, I do want to thank Clay and all of the staff. Clay, I was in there when they changed so many times what they wanted to say, and you just took it like a trooper and just, I mean, you were the professional that we all know that you are, and I thank you. Thank you so much. I think we do need the help of the legislators up there, and I am fighting with you on this. This is my district, and we do have a plan of action, but I want to make sure it's not one of those plans of action that goes on the shelf. And I can tell you, I am 100% committed to doing whatever I need to do in collaborating with this group on getting things moving. I'm excited. I haven't been this encouraged. And with Daytona purchasing the 3 properties, they're stepping up to the plate. Code enforcement is a huge thing, and I am talking with everybody I can. So plug me in wherever. I'm on board. Thank you so much.
Ms. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And without being redundant here again, thank you to the committee and all the hours and the conversations that have occurred to make this happen. It's a visionary leadership. And as you referenced a couple times, New Smyrna Beach and these other areas. Well, what's unique about that and what do they all have in common? CRA districts. New Smyrna turned around because of the CRA district. And they turned around because of private funding in the CRA district. The key to any success is skin in the game. So while we want to partner and get this done, if there's not skin in the game from private industry and the businesses coming forth because it will be their profit at the bottom line of this, that's key. But in East ISB, we're talking about the legislature. I have to give a shout out to Representative Tom Leake because in meeting with our FDOT Secretary Shannon at his office on this East ISB, and Anna Taylor's here from the Secretary's office. Good morning. We're taking a look at that, and I think we pretty much have that as a priority and just the detail work now, and that will be between the TPO, FDOT, and the city in connecting those dots on East ISB. So I'm very confident that that's going to come to completion. But one of the missing parameters in this for success and implementation is our Transportation Planning Organization, our TPO. So when you present to the cities, if I could suggest the next round of meetings, and we have a sunshine issue with TPO, so you can't bring us together at the same time, but I would suggest from each city, find out who their representative is on the TPO board, because it's their responsibility to come to TPO to get these projects on the long-range transportation plan. Because I promise you, Edgewater, Pearson, Deltona is not going to make a Daytona project or Ormond Beach or South Daytona a priority. So that's how the process works. I would identify them, make them part of the team in implementation afterwards, and I think we'll start checking these projects off. And I guess it's at this time, maybe, Mr. Manager, since we put you in by, was it an ordinance or a motion? How did, Mr. Eckert, when we put this advisory group together, it was just by appointment? Do I need an official motion to dissolve them? And here's why. Because you've accomplished what you, but I need you to be free to move around the cities and the county and remove the Florida sunshine stigma on top of you. So now that you've accomplished what we have asked you to do, by dissolving this and releasing you, you're no longer tied to the sunshine law violation and can go to the cities to accomplish what you need to do for implementation. So, Mr. Eckert, is there a motion that's required to do that?
I think a motion to discharge the committee with your thanks would be appropriate.
So with that, I will make an official motion to do that, to release you, to give you more ability to move around outside just a normal meeting. I make a motion to dissolve the Beachside
Discharge, I think.
Discharge at Beachside Redevelopment Committee with great thanks and appreciation from the County Council.
Second, Wheeler and everyone else. So is any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. So I guess you're discharged, but not before I get to speak. No, I'll just quickly. I do thank you. I have already had some initial discussions with other elected in 2 of the cities. I think it's something where the county and the city can work together, and what we can do is to set the conditions and set the environment conducive for private investment. And that's our task, and that is to work together. The detailed plans that I've seen of the redeveloping the area around the Ocean Center, that is something that we talk about things as recruiting businesses being game changer. That is huge. And that will affect the whole beachside community, which in turn affects all of us in Volusia County. And Frank, thank you for the little graph that you gave us. It's how I win lunches when I bet people that if they look at their property tax bill from 2008, they're paying less in 2008 than they're paying in 2017 in property taxes.
In 2017,
They're
That's what I'm saying.
more now?
They're paying less.
The values went down.
They're paying less in 2017 than they paid in 2008. And all we seem to get is a lot of people complaining about property tax. One individual is actually paying $10,000 a year less in property taxes than he did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's one of the loudest screamers about, but anyway, that's it.
Just a quick comment on that, Mr. Chair. If we can get the assessed values of property going up $1 billion a year, we can continue to pass that on to the residents, and our taxes can keep going down every year.
I understand that.
That'd be great.
If you can explain to the others to let us try, we do as best a job we can with the revenues that we have. And I think we've done an excellent job. The counties and the cities all have done. They don't realize how much property values dropped about 40%, I think was a number that I saw over that period of time. It's not back there yet. So again, thank you all for what you've done.
Can I say one last thing?
I know you want the last word, Tony. I'll give it to you this time.
Okay, I do want to thank each member of this commission. Each and every one of you have been supportive and committed. When I travel in New York, I promise you this, or in Chicago, not a lot of folks know Volusia County. The brand is Daytona Beach. And it's not an east-west, it is the brand of Volusia County. So I think if you look at Frank's numbers, there's no better time to invest. And that investment will pay dividends for the entire county in the way that property values go up. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate everyone's support.
And thank all of those who served on your committee. With that, we will move to item 5. And this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing portion. And Clay Irvin, if you'll give us your staff report.
Thank you, sir. Clay Irvin, Director of Growth and Resource Management. Before you today is an ordinance approving a large-scale future land use map amendment at 1914 Hillman Farms. In my presentation, I'll be referencing pages 5-19 through 5-22. This is our location, aerial, land use, and zoning maps. This was presented in front of the council back on February 20th, 2018. The applicants are looking to unify land use on it. It went through the Volusia County Growth Management Commission, went through the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. No comments were made in regards to that. Also, it was brought to you back in February, and the PLDRC had unanimously recommended approval with the staff's recommendation of approval. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Patterson?
There's no
I have no public participation. I'll close the public participation portion, public hearing. Mr. Patterson?
Mr. Chair, I move approval of ordinance 2018-06, adoption hearing for large-scale future land use amendment from Forestry Reserve FR to rural R of 16.6 acres located at 1914 Hillman Farge Road in De Leon Springs, case CPA-18-002.
Is there a second? Any objection to the motion? Oh, Ms. Cusack, sorry. Hearing no objection, the motion passes unanimous. And I've been asked for a 5-minute.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, Marcy Zimmerman. 2 members are out of the room, so it's a 5-0.
Okay.
Thank you, for the record.
For the record, it was 5-0, not unanimous. It was unanimous among those here. Thank you. Let's take 5 minutes real quick, since they are out, and we'll see you back here at 11:10. We'll make it 6 minutes. It's 11:18. We'll reconvene the county council meeting, and we'll go to item 6. And this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing portion, and Clay Irvin will give us the staff report.
Good morning, sir. Clay Urban, Director of Growth and Resource Management. Before you today is the second reading of an administrative rezoning for 33 acres that is located between the cities of Holly Hill and Ormond Beach along the US 1 corridor. This area is a previously platted set of lots and commercial areas that have been developed, and right now, given the land use and the zoning, they have some issues with regards to the R4 zoning, so we are looking to try and rezone the residential properties from R4 to R5. This will allow them to come in and get permits for expansions and sheds and those types of accessory uses without having to go through variances or other administrative efforts. This was presented to you previously. There was no comments at the PLDRC, nor have we received any comments via email or telephone. So staff is recommending approval. The PLDRC is also recommending approval. On pages 6-14, 6-15, and 6-16 is a location map, aerial, and zoning map that reflects the area that we're talking about. I have to provide that for the record so the folks listening can understand what exhibits you're seeing on the screen. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I have no one wishing to speak on the issue. We'll close the public participation. Ms. Post.
I move approval of Z-18-019 resolution administrative rezoning from R4 to R5 of approximately 33 acres located on Ridgewood Avenue and Cordova Avenue, north and south of Plaza Grand Avenue near the cities of Ormond Beach and Holly Hill.
Second.
Second, Patterson. Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, 7-0. Now we'll move to item 7, speaking of 7. And this is too a public hearing. That public hearing is open. Mr. Irvin.
Yes, sir. This is a private application for rezoning. The property currently has two zoning categories of R3 and A3. The applicant has requested that all the property be rezoned to A3, which is your transitional agriculture. In the presentation, what you will see is on pages 7-16, 7-17, 7-19, and 17-21, location, aerial, future land use, and zoning maps, respectively. This item was presented to the PLDRC. There was no objection raised. The PLDRC unanimously recommended approval of the rezoning. Staff also follows suit with that. We've not received any objections via email or any other correspondence. As you can see, this is pertaining to property that is south of Spring Garden Avenue near the city of DeLand. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
There have no one wishing to speak. We'll close the public hearing. And council, is there a motion? Mr. Patterson.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move approval of rezoning from urban single-family residential R-3 and traditional agricultural A-3 classifications to transitional agricultural A-3 classification of 35.13 acres located on the south side of County Road 15A in DeLand.
Is there a second? Second, Cusack. Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimous. We will now move to item number 8, and this is a public hearing. Public hearing is open. Mr. Irvin.
Good morning, Claire, Director of Growth and Resource Management. Before you today is an applicant-initiated rezoning for a 5-acre tract located at 133-3 Indian Lake Road near the city of Daytona Beach. Subject property is being rezoned from A2 to I1 in order to accommodate redevelopment of the site from a vacant wooded site to a site to accommodate a towing facility, storage, and maintenance. It's consistent with the future land use map. It was presented to the PLDRC last month. No one spoke out against it. Staff recommends approval. The PLDRC comes forward with a unanimous recommendation of approval. There's been no comments that we've received via email or other correspondence indicating objection to the proposed rezoning. I'm referencing pages 8-15 for the location map, 8-16 for the aerial, 8-18 for the future land use map, and 8-17 for the zoning map. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions? I have, Ms. Post, I have one person wishing to speak. If needed, we'll see whether that's necessary. Ms. Post.
Go ahead first.
Are you making a motion?
Public, did you say you have one person
Are you
wishing to speak,
making a
me or
motion?
public discussion?
Are you making a motion?
Yes, to approve.
Make it.
Okay. I move to approve ZZulu-18-034 resolution rezoning from rural agriculture A2 classification to light industrial India-1 classification of 5.14 acres located at 1333 Indian Lake Road, Daytona Beach in District 4.
Is there a second? Second, Cusack. Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimous, and the public hearing is, without objection, closed. Ms. Buck, you're okay with that? Thank you so much. We'll move to item 9. And this, too, is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing.
Good morning,
Mr.
Clay
Irvin.
Irvin, Director of Growth and Resource Management. Before you today is an an applicant-initiated rezoning for a 7-acre parcel located at 1111 Green Dairy Road near DeLand. The property owners would request a rezoning from R1 to RR in order to accommodate the keeping of farm animals. Staff has reviewed it and presented it to the PLDRC last month, made a recommendation of approval. The PLDRC, not hearing any objection, carried on that same recommendation. So it's before you today with a recommendation of approval. We've not received any complaints or other concerns via email or other forms of correspondence. Staff reports there. In regards to the maps that are being referenced in the presentation, we've got pages -916, 9-17, 9-18, and 9-19, which shows the location and aerial of the site, the zoning, and the future land use map. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
We have no one wishing to speak from the public. We'll close the public hearing portion. Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of Z-18-035 resolution rezoning from urban single-family residential R-1 classification to rural residential RR classification of 7.3 acres located at 1111 Green Dairy Road, DeLand.
Ms. Denny's.
Just a question for Mr. Irvin. I mean, I'm going to support this, but we're changing this from residential to,
Rural residential.
does this make it ag?
No, by zoning alone, you don't automatically get an agricultural classification.
So, and I'm going to bring this up under council member comment time, but this is, so, under this situation, and they're changing, they're requesting the zoning change so that for personal use of farm animals, I get that, I understand that. But under this zoning, can they clear cut?
I can't remember, if it has to be a bona fide agricultural use in order to clear cut a site for either pasture or for silviculture. And so if they don't have a bona fide agricultural classification that's provided to them, no, the zoning does not allow it.
So under this zoning, clear cutting is not accepted or approved. Okay, that's all I wanted to be clear, thank you.
Is there a second?
I want to correct something I said because I remember going through this recently because of some of the issues we've heard. The county's tree preservation standards, I believe it's just tied to agricultural zoning. I'm not sure that you have to have a bona fide agricultural use. So I believe that we do allow that if you have any of the agricultural zonings, you can come in and remove trees from your site. There is what they call basically, we come in and say that if you clear cut this site and come in for development within 3 years, we make you mitigate for the trees because obviously you took them out with the intent to develop the site. If, however, you come in 3 years and 1 day, you've missed that standard and basically would be able to go forward with development on your site. So just to clarify that we do provide for relief for tree removal to agricultural zoned properties.
Understand tree removal versus clear cut. That's where I'm going. Okay, thank you.
Is there a second? Second, Ms. Cusack. Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimous, and at this point, we will move to item number 10. Mr. Deneen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lucinda. Lucinda will come forward, and you'd asked for an overview presentation of the library system as to sort of where we are, where we're going. And Lucinda will do that today with the idea that we'll take any direction from the council Part of it also, as you'll see, is get a preview peek at the 5-year financial plan in relationship to the current rate that we have, which has always been a big issue of trying to keep the rate from, without changing on the library fund if we could. Thank you.
Good morning, Lucinda Coley, Library Services Director. With more than 235,000 registered library users, our branch libraries serve as active centers for lifelong learning for all ages, as well as provide opportunities for residents to take part in cultural and entertainment programs not always found elsewhere in our communities. As well, the library connects online users to online resources for also lifelong learning, research, and entertainment. What I've tried to do throughout the presentation is tie it to our budget objectives, which in turn ties it to the dynamic master plan. The library provides materials in a wide range of formats, genres, and subjects to meet the needs of library users. Currently, the library spends a little over $2.2 million on library collections, materials in the branches, electronic resources, including online learning and research databases, electronic books, audiobooks, and so forth. We reach our 7 items per capita by adding over 2 million songs are available in one of our databases. So we are well over the state standard for items per capita. Along with standard formats, we provide alternative formats such as all-in-one audiobooks, which one of our library board members brought up at Friday's meeting, wanting to know if we were going to continue getting those. And we have over 2,700, and we do purchase those all the time. Those are called playaways. And they're great for those folks who walk and don't want to carry their phone and so forth. We have preloaded learning games and study prep for students on our launch pads. We have print magazines and electronic magazines. We also offer many electronic resources for Volusia County residents. One of the key areas our e-resources are used for is to seek consumer health information. 72% of internet users have looked online for health information and can find it very overwhelming and unable to decide what is accurate and trustworthy. So they turn to the library, and they can use our online databases, work with the librarian to find the information and know that it's an accurate and trustworthy health information source. As well, resources on business and finance and other subject areas as well. The libraries provide, as I said, a wide range of learning, cultural, and entertainment programs for all ages, with more than 124,000 attendees in fiscal year 2017. We're also fortunate that our Friends of the Library groups are instrumental in helping to fund a lot of our presenters. We have several key system-wide programs that we produce each year. Our summer library program for school-aged children. Volusia Libraries have been providing summer library program for more than 30 years. And studies show that children who do not continue reading during the summer months lose up to a month or more of learning, what's commonly known as the summer slide. So our programs seek to keep school children reading and engaged in fun reading activities throughout summer break. For the preschool children, we offer a wealth of opportunities for early literacy and kindergarten readiness during our baby, toddler, and preschool story times. Staff continue to work to develop these programs for these 21st century learners. By that I mean incorporating technology and electronic resources into their standard storytime programs. We're very excited to once again receive a National Endowment for the Arts Big Read Grant. In the past 3 cycles of this grant, over 23,000 people have participated in the programs that we've made available to them. 2 other system-wide initiatives include our Money Smart Week, which we've been doing for several years, to help consumers better manage their personal finances, and Health Happens in Libraries to promote community health through programs. A new initiative that will be happening very soon, May 19th, this Saturday, is we're starting it out in our regional libraries, and it's a how-to festival. We've partnered with businesses, individuals, and organizations to bring a series of short programs on a wide variety of topics during one day. Topics include how to garden using containers, how to become an informed voter, how to run for a local office, how to attract butterflies, and my favorite was how to read your dog. I need that information. How to read your dog.
Read your dog?
Yeah, like
Oh,
your dog looks at you funny. Why is the dog looking at you? I'll have to attend that one. So, under economic development in the dynamic master plan, the library offers e-learning opportunities and computer assistance and training also in our e-labs. The e-learning database lynda.com offers online courses and video tutorials. We've had several users tell us how the training on lynda.com has helped them land jobs or a promotion by studying. Generally, it's the computer programming courses that have helped them move along in their career. Our e-labs in 9 locations continue to offer one-on-one assistance to those working on job searches and completing applications, working on resumes and cover letters, as well as helping people establish an email account, as well as assist people with e-government applications. We also have small group classes on various software, learn how to use Microsoft Word, maybe learn how to set up an event on Facebook, just a wide variety of opportunities for folks to learn more about computers. A key objective for library services is to work to close the digital divide in our community by providing broadband internet access in our branches. Many in our community, believe it or not, still lack home access to high-speed internet. The library is continuing to upgrade our bandwidth and has provided more than 771,000 public access computer and wireless sessions in our branches during the past year. Also during the past year, the library added Wi-Fi hotspots, which we circulate to our library users with a library card. We currently have 200 that are available for checkout. I checked this morning, there are 160 reservations on those 200 hotspots. Definitely a need in our community. The library also offers STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math programs. We have 2 dedicated makerspace rooms, one in Daytona and one in Deltona, and we offer makerspace programs throughout the library system. The library is looking forward or would like to partner with the schools to establish a student library card. The goal is to give every student access to library materials and services in the branches and online, regardless of the status of their regular library card. Many of our students have library cards. Maybe they got them when they were a baby or younger, and then for whatever reason materials didn't get returned or long overdue, so they returned them, they're high fines. So we want to make sure that they have access to all those, especially the online resources. We are sort of at the final end of instituting our self-check and self-check-in. It's just getting started. So with the many efficiencies that we've gained, including self-checkout, pre-processed materials, we float our collections so we don't move them around as much. I want to review our staff workloads and make recommendations for our hours of operation, and try to extend them when appropriate, where appropriate. 2 important outcomes I would like to be able to find a solution for is we have 4 small libraries that we close for lunch, and I would like to keep those open during that lunch period. And I'd like to look at our regional libraries and move our opening time up a little bit earlier than 1 o'clock. We're open 1 to 5 right now. 2 additional school partnership opportunities that we'd like to explore. One is extending our Access 360 digital content directly to the schools for student checkout from their school location. And secondly, we'd like to look at hotspots and which communities or areas we have school children that could most benefit by setting aside hotspots for students to check out. So lastly, the library fund, as Mr. Deneen said, it shows continuing a flat millage rate. It also shows 10% in emergency reserves, and we do have some reserves, obviously, for capital improvements. And we will be bringing the Hope Place Library online in the next year, and it's already, we've calculated it into our budget. So we won't be asking or looking for additional funds out of our reserves to fund that location. We've already planned for that. Answer any questions?
You hit on several of them. One of them you answered, and that was I was going to question the technology and the 111,000 or something, I think was a number that was given as people using the technology and so forth. So it is used a lot. You mentioned one about libraries, parts of it are closed for lunch?
We have 4 very small libraries,
Okay.
Pearson and Oak Hill, Lake Helen, and Orange City, that because of staffing and security issues, we close for lunch. You know, we don't like to staff any of our libraries with one person alone in a building, and sometimes that's impossible to get away from. But one of the solutions that we came up with years ago was that we would close for lunch. But, you know, that's difficult. Everybody has to leave the building and then come back.
I think I know that the council as a whole, we asked for some additional information, and I think some of it was brought about by me reading all of the things that I get notices from on a daily basis of things that are available. And one of my purposes was that you could take the inquiry that we had and to see what you could come up with from your board on requests for things. Is there, you ever need to shift space or reevaluate your space usage? In other words, cut down on a section of something and expand that section to something else. I'm sure somebody does all those little things.
Well,
Where you can.
Every time that we replace the floor covering and paint, you know, the interior, we take that opportunity to look at our space. I think Daytona Beach Regional Library is a prime example. When we closed due to the flooding, we took that opportunity, we reevaluated the space, and we rearranged the library so that we do have more open space for seating. Small groups can meet at the tables that we didn't have before. We consolidated our collection.
Do you ever track how long people that visit a library, how long they are there on the average?
We haven't.
I'm just wondering, you have spaces for people to sit and read, you have spaces for people to wander around. I just would be curious, do they spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? You have computers. I'm sure some people come in and would spend more time with those. Are there shortages of computers, spaces, terminals? Or I guess you don't have.
We have PCs, but no, what we continue to monitor, and our software will tell us how many are in use per hour, and so we can monitor the computer usage in particular. And we have actually, in some locations, we've reduced the number of PCs because more and more folks are coming in with their own device and using the internet, wireless internet access.
Well, that would be an exact reason to reduce or adjust the space.
Absolutely, and we did that in Daytona. We used to have a much larger public access computer area for adults, and it's been reduced because we reduced the number of PCs.
Yeah. I know a couple of years ago I attended a meeting in one of the meetings, and if you're not out by 5 o'clock, you go to jail.
Well, it depends on the library,
much,
but yeah, meeting rooms are premium space in a lot of our locations. You know, I think if we were building libraries today, which we're not, you would add more meeting rooms. The Deltona Library is a good example of that. When we built that in 2009, there's lots of meeting room space for the community and for library programs as well.
Right. Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say that how grateful I am and we are as a council for the class act of the Rachel Robinson Play Yard. That was such an event that it would be a memorable occasion for many of us. And I just want to thank the staff and for all that you did to make that such a joyous and outstanding event. It was just a class act. And also, I want to say that the library services that we had provided by Volusia County is really second to none. I think that it would stand up anywhere. And I just want to thank the staff and all those involved and the citizens that they should be very, very proud of what we offer in our libraries in Volusia County. I want to thank you and also thank everyone that was involved in that affair on last Saturday, and for all that you do to continue to showcase Volusia County through our services and the library services, and that division is second to none. Thanks so much to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I thank Ms. Dennis.
Thank you, and I just want to echo what Councilwoman Cusack said. And your online classes, some of those, I think the public isn't yet aware of exactly how much is available online, but it's pretty amazing. I drilled down when you gave the presentation, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, when we went a little more in-depth into that. I actually registered and went online. I still have those accounts. It is, whether it's photography, it's Excel spreadsheet, you want to learn how to do better graphic marketing, you can do it through this hub. It's absolutely amazing. And I believe, how many counties in the state of Florida, Mr. Deneen, have a county-wide library system?
Well, I think all of them do. And then within some counties, then there are still some municipal libraries that have decided not to join the county. But I think that in our case and for all those where it's a county-wide system, we're much better for it because we provide them all those resources to every resident of the county.
I think we have a more sophisticated system. We're a lot more digital, more online. One of the things that we did through the downturn was we looked at how can we be as effective as possible and use the new technology, because we never could afford to keep all the personnel. I mean, I think she has about 14 open positions I've never allowed them to fill, because we really had to watch making sure that we were going to provide the services the way the system originally that was intended when I first got here was that eventually the regional libraries would take over and you would have no small libraries, and what they were going to do was use all the resources from the small libraries to staff the regional libraries. Well, that never came about except for 2 libraries because we have other needs in some of those communities. Pearson and Oak Hill is a good example. You're so far out. The other thing is that because we've updated, even our branches that are out there get a lot of use. So as long as they're being used, then it's worth doing. The thing that I would like to do, she said, is I think that maybe if the property values start to grow a little bit, we're going to look at filling that hole in the lunchtime, and also giving her more hours for the regional one. The other thing I've talked to Lucinda about that I'm now concerned about is we're going to spend some time and effort and some money to do a different security view. The more we talked about security as time goes on, with some of the interactions we have, especially with the different populations we're attracting, and some of the questions that came up when we were doing the Rachel Robinson play area, we decided that it's time to start doing a new review, and that could end up costing us some money in the end. But I do think security in the libraries, I do think we need to be a little more aware of what's going on and be a little more secure. The good thing is that you hear some of that because people use the facilities.
They do.
In fact, the chair said that, and I got tickled by this, was how surprised he was until you really drill down, because a lot of people think, well, libraries, they're kind of outmoded, outdated. Not in today's world if you stay up with the technology and if you connect with people in people's lives. And that's why I think the one we're doing at Hope Place will serve that whole area, but really will help that population. So I've been very pleased. We are going to look at making some changes. I am going to add some stuff to her budget for next year, and I'm going to stay within the rate that we have established a long time ago.
And I think that's key because our libraries have become community centers.
Yes.
To a lot of our communities, to a lot of our cities.
Absolutely.
And in the downturn, I mean, they use them to apply for jobs. They use the Wi-Fi hotspots. in all
Right,
ages.
right.
There's all ages in using these libraries, so,
Yeah, two areas that really kind of exploded during the downturn
yeah.
were the park system and the library system. So while everybody else was going the other way, they explode because people didn't have money, and a lot of it stayed. Once people come and they start seeing it, and interestingly enough, on the park system, we had a lot of people that decided, whoa, I didn't realize I could go to like Lighthouse Point Park or all these other parks that we have, and they're not costly, and there was a lot to do. And so instead of going to Disney 4 times a year, they'd go a couple of times because they couldn't afford it to our park. Now a lot of those people have decided to just use that as an option all the time. So a lot of our, especially in parks, our usage has gone up, but also in the libraries, and I'm proud of Lucinda on what they do to try and keep up.
Well, I have to shout out to my staff, because I'm sure some are listening. I mean, I have the best staff in Volusia County, I have to say. They're awesome, and we're only as good as the people that work for us and serve the residents of Volusia County. They
And it's
do
the area where we have the most volunteers of
Well,
anywhere is
I was
in the
just
library
going to
system.
say that, and that's going to be my final comment on this one, is because, council members, if you get invited, like I'm sure that I do, to the volunteer recognition at the libraries, go.
Yeah.
It is so impressive, because he's been years, hours and hours and hours and years, some of these volunteers have been at the same location. And it's an amazing thing. So next time you get an invitation to a volunteer event at one of our libraries in your district or countywide, please go, because it's a, you'll feel really good about what we do. You'll see the hands-on
Right.
approach.
You could never run the system to the level we do at the cost we spend if we didn't have the volunteers. They are this group gets the largest amount of volunteers is in the library system.
Thank you.
Thank you again from all of us. With that, we'll move to item public participation. We have no cards,
No,
Do-
sir, no cars.
so we will
Cards.
close that part out and move to discussion of matters not on the agenda. Mr. Deneen.
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Eckert.
Nothing, sir.
Tonight, we'll start with, or this morning, we'll start with Ms. Post.
Good morning. I want to make note and make sure everybody is aware that today is National Law Enforcement Memorial Day and week in Florida, but today is the actual day. If you notice, we have our flags at half-staff outside, and I think it's particularly fitting with all of the incidents that have occurred in Florida in the last year, and specifically, as a matter of fact, today, Deputy William Gentry, Highlands County deputy who was shot in the face, his funeral is actually occurring as I speak. So certainly fitting to please keep all of our public safety in your prayers today. The second thing I had was I would like to move to get on the follow-up list for us to take a second look at the county website, specifically in reference to the board listings that we have and the board updates. I noticed another press release came out today of the boards that are available, the advisory boards that are available for public participation. And we've mentioned many, many times how we are desperately in need of the public to participate in those. Especially as part of transparency in our communication and collaboration with the actual citizens. I think it's very important for them to be aware of these boards. There was a board that I'm on that's not even listed on there, and that is the Public Safety Coordinating Council. I also noted that there's also a board on there that was disbanded in 2013. So I haven't looked into all of them.
It's on there now, but it's disbanded.
It's on there now, and actually our recent update that we did as a new council in 2017, it's relisted on there. So, and that is the Substance Abuse Council.
Yeah,
But I haven't looked at all of them, but I would just like to move that we actually get it on the follow-up list, and
Okay.
that be
I think you don't need we don't need to vote on that, but I think what you need to request, it should be updated.
I get to be on the file
Take a review of that and make sure that everything is up to date on there for the boards that are available. And again, if we can do another, maybe tie a PSA in some way of boards that we need people for. Wouldn't that fit right there with it, you think? And make it easy for people to get that information so we can have people, because we're short people volunteering.
Right.
Okay.
And that's, and that's just the board part, but also if we could just take a look at the website. And I know when I came in 2017, I had looked at the Veterans Services side and mentioned that there were some things on that that were slightly outdated. Those have been corrected, but I haven't looked at all of the rest of the site. So maybe if we could just do a good reboot of the website, that would be wonderful. In terms of notification, we had Friday, I'm sure everybody's aware, we had the naked guy who was mentally ill that came to the airport, which caused a 2.5 hour shutdown of airport services. I was never notified of that. Those are things that I would like to be notified of. There's a structure in place, and I think it broke down. I need to have the most up-to-date information because the citizens are looking to discuss their concerns with me, and actually citizens were looking to discuss their concerns with me, and I hadn't heard of it. It started somewhere around 6 in the morning, and this was about 5:30 in the evening that I was contacted by a citizen and had no clue that this was happening. So again, I just want to ensure we have a structure in place, but I think there's a clear break in the chain of command. The communication and follow-up really needs to improve, and these are things I'm going to be looking at the end of the year when we do our evaluations as well. But I had this discussion 2 weeks ago, and I'm having it again. So,
Mr. Chair, I would just like to publicly apologize. I'm the one who was in charge during that Friday, and I did not get to notify all of you. The speed of the event, by the time I became aware, I was only able to contact the chair and the vice chair before actually the sheriff went on with a public broadcast.
so you two were notified?
Pardon?
So you two were notified
I
in the
was,
morning,
yeah.
first thing in the morning?
9:15.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, it would be
15
nice to
minutes,
spread the
15
wealth
minutes
there.
before the sheriff notified everybody else. I was only able to do that,
I
so.
wasn't notified.
Well, it was out publicly at 9:30.
And
Right.
Councilwoman
So it's my
Cusack
fault,
was-
and as I said, I will use we are looking at a different system to make sure that it can be all put out at one time via email, and that's what we'll do in the future. And if there's anything more particular to an area, I'll make sure that that occurs. But that's on me. It's not on the manager. He was out of pocket. I was in charge, and I will do better. So I apologize.
Well, I'm not looking to lay, we don't need to lay blame on any specific person. All I'm looking at is a clear breakdown in the chain of command. So however you guys need to work out the chain of command, we as the council, being in that chain of command, I feel need to be notified, and I would like to be notified of these things. And this is a repetitive request that I make, so that's all on that. In regards to, actually it's not all on that, second thing I wanted to discuss on that was we had, April 3rd, the council had a safety briefing in Chambers, and it was my understanding that we were going to have some follow-up on that. That was 2 months ago, and we have had no follow-up on anything that we discussed.
We have had follow-up. You haven't seen it yet. And that is, we'll have everything installed, the physical stuff, by the next meeting. Already, we have people watching the back here now, and that's why both of my people are back there. But we'll have all the physical changes done by the first meeting in June.
And we changed the entrance to the door out here.
Correct.
Well, so first, if we're talking about the door entrance back there that was left unlocked during our meetings, that was something that was brought up a year previously in 2016, and it took a year to get the door fixed. The door was finally fixed before we had our briefing. That's good. I'm glad that that's been accomplished. But you're talking about the actual physical things that require some type of funding. But something as small as, and that was one of the things that we brought up, and something that we could take care of very easily just by direction, is the deputies that we have that work overtime that come in, they still are not, they have no idea what's back here. This is a whole labyrinth back here. And that's an area that we said was going to be taken care of, that takes no funding, no plan, no meetings, no anything, and that still has yet to be done, and it's been 2 months in. And so, again, the things that we are asking, I would like to see actually come to
I said I'll
fruition.
have it done by the first meeting in June, and I initiated the whole discussion of safety with the council.
Yeah.
And I also initiated it before you got here and didn't get support to make those changes. And this council's decided, but I initiated that. And I said that we would have it all in place physically by the first meeting in June. So I'll have those changes. Both of my people are out there.
These are just severe safety concerns that are reported, and the fact that we take a year to address a safety concern.
It's not been a year.
It was a year for the door, for the lock. But and now it's been 2 months, so that's my concern, is these are severe safety concerns, and there are tiny things that we could be doing to address them. And I just don't want it to be lumped into things that I'm assuming are follow-up that never get followed up on. So by June 1st, all of these things will be
By the
done?
first meeting in June.
Okay. So the next meeting,
June 5th.
the deputy will be advised. Okay.
I'm in the dark. What is the sheriff's deputy being advised on?
Well, that was discussed in our meeting, though.
No, what is he supposed to be advised of?
For someone from staff to take him back, because it's consistently, we've had this one regularly, the last 2 meetings, which is good, but that's an overtime position to where people who may not have ever been in this building are working in the chambers. And that was a discussion that we had during our safety meeting, that staff, a member of staff, would be directed to take that deputy back here and show them what all is actually behind the dais. Now, thank goodness, that door from the hallway is locked, but this is an area, if something goes to hell in a handbasket there, that's an area that I think our safety and security personnel should be.
Just to me, I think the safety issue was handled by having access, keyed access. For a deputy, I mean, that's management's job. I don't feel showing him that there's a back room and a restroom is going to make us any safer. Is it? I mean,
it is, and I think that's actually why we brought in a deputy who does that training for a living, to discuss that with us. That was one of the points that he suggested, and that is a very easy point to take care of. Not to mention that I also do this for a living.
Pardon?
Not to mention that I also do this for a living. So it is a concern. I think.
Okay,
I think safety personnel having an idea of.
We work with the sheriff's office, and we assumed they were going to do that, but I'll make sure that our own person does that. Okay, I will.
Okay.
I mean, I'm the one I've been very concerned about security for a long time. That's why I asked to have this done for everybody. So, we take it pretty seriously. Both those people are positioned out there.
Well, I
The
understand
hardware-
government takes a long time to work, but I'm just worried about the lag in the timeframes.
Okay,
That's
point-
all I have.
Point made, okay. Ms. Wheeler?
Thank you. I would like to, we have discussed several times about having a workshop with the entire council on our projections, you know, to see if we're still in line with what our master plan, I mean, there might be new things that the new council might have that they want to throw into the pot. It would be nice to have a time that we can have that open discussion just to, and I would still like to see that happen, set up a time for that. We've discussed it, and I think it's really important for especially the new ones of us. Well, but we haven't been in on the plan that's in existence right now.
Can we do that now? Because again, we're a year and a half in, and we've mentioned that almost every meeting.
Chair, I know that you have talked about this before, having workshops. So if we could set up a time, have that set up, that would be great. If we could,
Yeah.
that we could just openly discuss.
Can we do
What-
it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I would like to see if we can do is if we can have an organized, untethered discussion. Any of us can say anything that's on our mind. It doesn't mean that we're all gonna do those things. There's no need to get the News Journal alarmed that they're gonna see something that I say, well, I think we should cancel this or that, or move this or that, whatever it is. But I think we need to share maybe some visions that we may have, share some thoughts. Doesn't mean anything. But if we don't convey those publicly, we can't tell each other privately what our thoughts are. So let's set a time, set a workshop where we can share, you know, if you don't like the way I run the meeting, tell me, because you're not going to tell me during the meeting. I mean, I'm open for that.
Well, I think it's important because we saw where the Beachside Redevelopment Group, they came together and they had a lot of conversation and they brainstormed. And that's kind of what I look at this as a brainstorming session.
We had those.
Could we not have that during our public comment time? Why
We-
can't
we
we
can s-
not
we can s- we-
brainstorm when you have your moment to discuss your concerns? I mean, I don't know
Okay,
how in-depth, we have pretty deep discussions at this time.
Well, we can do that, but the thing that I've seen that works is where you sit around or sit somewhere and you don't wait to be recognized. You just have general dialogue, kind of like I interrupted you then. But we have general dialogue, and one of the purpose that we have this open discussion with members' comments is to bring things up. But we then should be willing to have feedback from each of us, and we just say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have, I'd like to see this, I'd like to see that. I mean, ideas and suggestions that you do one-on-one with that. But let's dedicate an hour or an hour and a half or a period of time and just sit and talk.
During lunch
Just
or something.
communicate.
How about after the June 19th council meeting?
Well,
Well, because we keep saying
We'll
we're going
get-
to schedule it, and it's been a year and a half.
we'll get it scheduled.
Okay.
If I
don't
could
believe-
add, what I would
Yeah.
suggest that you look at,
A working lunch?
yes,
A working lunch?
you could do that.
Oh,
No.
I mean, here we are, 12 o'clock, we could.
Can you turn on your microphone, please? Thank you.
We could very well have a discussion at the end of a council meeting. We don't have to.
That's what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
We'll set a time where it goes to members' comments. The first thing we'll do is say, this is members' comment. This is a untethered, say what you want to say, ideas, thoughts, and feed off of each other and have dialogue with each other openly without me having to look to see who's got their button pushed. And as long as we can do it in a controlled environment where we're cordial to each other and civil to each other, and do that. So we can set aside the end of the meeting and public comments then, or comments at this time. We don't have to say, we're going to set aside 2 o'clock on Thursday or whatever. We can do it that way. That makes more sense. Pick a
Okay.
meeting.
Mr. Chair, we can figure out which one you want to do that at. And the only thing I would suggest is that you got a big budget and you got it wrapped around a really big dynamic master plan. My suggestion is that you might, unless it's other dynamics between the council in terms of things that you want to look at, you might want to make sure that you've referenced the dynamic master plan to see if we're doing, in other words, it should be related to the plan that we're following. In other words, if you.
No,
Oh, not
no, that's
necessarily.
exactly the wrong, that's,
Yeah. Correct.
we're not throwing the master plan out.
No, what I'm suggesting is, you misinterpreted what I said.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, you have that plan. So I would assume that this would be things that you either want to add to the plan.
Yeah.
Or change in the plan.
Yes.
That's, I mean, you have a plan.
That could be part of it.
Budget's based on the plan. So my suggestion is, you read, so if it's things you want to add or change, you may want to reflect that where it fits in the plan. So if it's something we don't have in the plan you want to do, then it's under the section if it's economic development, if it's parks.
Well, it would be an open discussion, but then you still would have to have the members vote on that to whether or not, I mean, you still have to have the 4 votes to check, to do that.
Correct. But what I'm suggesting is,
this
just
is
so
something-
that way I can tie it into what you're already doing.
Well, I mean, I could give you some examples.
Give us one, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, for example, it was kind of brought up at the last meeting of something to do with ECHO, and to do with that. It was brought up a discussion about where are we with the boardwalk. Those are things that are in there, but maybe we could have, those are 2 examples. Maybe I would say we need to take a positive stand on the report that we got today and see how we can directly start communicating from an administration and local, elected positions in working with doing something with the revitalization of the beach sides. And we put that on it. And Ms. Post may say that she wants to look at.
Words in my mouth.
Huh?
I'm teasing. I said, don't put words in my mouth.
No, well, I'm not saying what I'm not going to say what you may have an idea of what you'd like to look at, and these are things that not necessarily may not necessarily be in a master plan, but it could be something that she could say, could we look at this? We don't get into the weeds on it. We put things out there. We don't need to go and do all the details of every single thing, but bring up thoughts and share thoughts, visions about. We should be visionaries reflecting the ideas and thoughts of the people who elect us. And I think that's the time to share those. And maybe there are things that we get, I know it happens, it seems like on this council by osmosis. It does happen because we reflect those. We each have brought ideas from constituents, and Ms. Ditties does a great job. I know Mr. Patterson, all of us have bringing ideas and supporting ideas and thoughts. But it's just, you do it once a year or once every 6 months. You have to just say what's on your mind, and nothing may come out of it. The first couple of times we did it in Ormond, we kind of sat there waiting for somebody to talk. But then after that happened, it didn't take long.
But weren't you all men?
We only had, we didn't have to get I'll stop, 20,000 words in. But, so it was a little faster having, but that's what we can do. We can do that at the end of a meeting, that can be added to an agenda prior to or included within items not on the agenda discussion, which is where we are right now. So,
Okay, and continuing with mine.
sorry,
No,
I
that's okay.
wasn't
No, that's
marking you
okay.
off yet.
No, and kind of going along that line, I would like to know where we are in maybe grant finding or whatever for the Main Street Bridge. I've brought that up several times to staff, just reminding everybody that I want to stay on tune with that because we have so many things going on down in Daytona Beachside, and with the Brown and Brown going on in the Main Street conversation. It's time to start at least really moving with the plans because we know it's going to be way out there, but we need to have everything in action and everything in gear. So I'd like to start bringing that, whatever we need to do, whether it's grant finding or going to our legislators or whatever, which I'm going to be doing. So that's one item that I'm bringing up for discussion. Then the other thing is that this.
George is going to comment on.
Yeah,
Okay, go
it's
ahead.
something that we need to address with the TPO because there's no way the county could fund that bridge.
That's a state bridge, correct?
No, it's a county bridge, just like the Orange Avenue Bridge, but
I was
like
just-
the one to the south, the Orange Avenue Bridge, the new Veterans Memorial, that was 100% funded by the federal government. So what we need to do is make sure we are on the, which we are, working with the state to get it on the federal list for funding. Now, the problem is under the new federal administration, they're changing the funding formula, so there may not be such a thing as a 100% funded bridge anymore.
Also, to clarify, but for us to deal with any of those issues, it might as well be a state bridge because we had to coordinate all the funding through the state.
Okay.
Federal
Because
money comes to
there
the
is-
state.
Yeah, there's no local money that would ever be able to do that.
Right.
So we treat those differently. The bridges are treated differently. They're treated as though they're a state function because you had $40 million in that bridge.
So we are working and I'll take a look at, there's a, what they call a sufficiency rating on these bridges. It's a catch-22. For years, we were more or less penalized because we did such a good job maintaining those bridges. So every time you maintain it and they come out and inspect it, then it goes back up in its rating. So it's a system that you have to let it, unfortunately, get down to lower levels where it becomes a kind of a critical situation before the federal government will fund it. I'll find out where we're at. I know it's on the lower range and has been, because it's age, the parts, have to be manufactured when we do maintenance.
Well, have we started having conversations with the property owners on the, let's say, the east side of the bridge and everything? I mean, if it is a higher bridge that is required, or, I mean, I think conversation is where we need to start.
We
and
can start a
get it
little bit
rolling.
of feasibility work on that. I think what we had done last time was to see what would fit, and that's one of the first steps you may have to get into. You can only go so far, and then you're going to really have to get an engineer to come in and start some sort of a preliminary design to know what property, because those are decisions that will have to be made. A high bridge, like the one we did before, where the landing would come down, could be up into Main Street fairly far. So that would be something we'd have to consider.
With Daytona on this also, they were saying that a lot of that property on the east side of the bridge is theirs and that they would have sufficient property. So, I mean, there's where some of the conversation, I just want to make sure it's just continuing to evolve, because I don't want to get down the road 10 years and we're still,
Well, and
it may take that to be
the other
complete,
hurdle-
but I don't want the discussion to be still.
Sure. The other hurdle as a community we need to discuss is the need for the bridge, period.
Yeah.
Well,
New one.
the bridge itself does not have the traffic load on it,
Another one.
so
You're going to have a hard time
I know.
convincing Daytona
But
of
that's a
that.
problem that's a challenge
Yeah.
we'll be dealing with the federal government, because that's one of the issues when they go to fund it, was what kind of traffic load does it have versus the bridges that are immediately to the south. So
Well, that
it's all-
conversation just
right.
needs to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and then the final thing, this is just kind of an announcement, and this is not an advertisement for this dental place, but this is an advertisement for the veterans. I was notified today that Aspen Dental on the Speedway, International Speedway, if you call in now and make an appointment for June the 9th, they have free dental for all veterans. That's caps and everything. So June the 9th, but you need to call in now to Aspen Dental on International Speedway. That's a big thing, and we thank them for that.
Okay. Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no additional comments.
Thank you. Ms. Denny's.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple things, but on that bridge, there's a difference between then, with the Orange Avenue Bridge, 100% federally funded, and now, because the federal plan, well, was 100% federally funded. Now the federal plan is 20% funded, 80% local match. If we had to do Orange Avenue Bridge today, they would have paid $8 million from the feds, and we would have had to come up with $32 million in match state. So we're talking half-cent sales tax. You don't think we don't need this? And the other piece to that would be is if the city or whoever wants that is going to put that on their priority list and their funding requirement again within the process. So and they're right too. It could absolutely be denied with the matrix the feds are using with the traffic count on that. I think Mr. Rechtenwald makes a very valid point. So just because a location wants something to happen or it's been that way before doesn't mean the funding will be there or the need will be justified. As frustrating as it is, and it is, but some of these things are going to be, they're out of our hands. They're just, but anyway, advisory board appointments. To that, my request was going to be, and Joanne, I want to thank you, there was a PSA done this morning on WNDB, 11:50 a.m. on your dial. I believe you were on at 8:30 to 9, as you are every Tuesday morning on the Volusia County updates. And they did do a good PSA on the need for appointments. But what I would like to see, what I'd like to have a report, and maybe if you could get it to council, I think we have 13 vacancies. Could you list, I don't want to see every board and everybody's appointment. Just give me I want to see where each vacancy is and whose appointment it is. Because some of these come down our district appointments, because we can advertise them, and somebody, let's say, I know there's still a vacancy, let's take CFAB. So we get 5 people that say, okay, I would like to serve on Children and Families Advisory Board, and I'm saying, I'm sorry, it's not my district, I can't appoint you. You have to live within a district. So there's some boundaries and requirements to our advisory boards, but if you could get us a list, the entire council, where the vacancies are, who district it is, and then as district members, it's our responsibility to work within our communities to get those positions filled between the chambers of commerce and other nonprofits and boards we all engage in.
To that,
Yeah.
I get asked all the time, are there any vacancies? And I said, yes, but I can't do it because it has to be these requirements. I could give you probably 10 appointments of qualified people who want to volunteer to serve, but they are in the wrong district, or I can't appoint them.
And there's a place on the website for the board openings, actually, but it just needs to be.
So if we could get that list, that would be really great. But to this point, too, we've talked about this before, Mr. Manager and Council, maybe now it's difficult sometimes to get some really good quality appointees and those that will serve as a volunteer. We thank our volunteers. We just talked about it with our library services. They do a great job with that. We thank our employees. We do once a year recognitions. We do nothing to recognize our advisory board appointees. We have dropped the ball with that. Maybe a good way, and I've brought this up before, but maybe now if we could consider this at another time, let's consider how we can do a volunteer appreciation for advisory district board members altogether, not separately, but do one event for all of them. Because like Bud Severino, he's been chairing the PLDRC for how many years? Year after year. And we need him. We need our seasoned appointees. So that's just a thought on that one.
You couldn't be more right. I mean, I think that anything you can do, it's getting harder and harder to get people to volunteer. Anything you can do like that would help people. And by the way, Mr. Chair, if I can say, on Billy, on your comment on the bridge, if we also want to do those kind of things during this open discussion, which I think would be, those would be very helpful, because this way we find out. To me, that would be part of economic development. So it is kind of in the master plan, so we could do it. Here's the thing that would be helpful. If you would give me an idea of some of the topics you might want to bring up, then I can make sure that I either have the right person or the information so we can help you during that discussion. So instead of just saying, I'll have to look it up or I'll have to get it for you, I might be able to talk about it right then.
Sometimes, Mr. Manager, I generate my ideas as they're coming out from other people.
Right.
You know, you're feeding off of them and you go, hey, yeah, you've got an idea. Well, what about this?
Right.
So I don't always have those things.
Wouldn't
know,
expect you to have them, but
yeah.
if you do have some
Okay.
topics, that would
And I
help.
think that's what will happen, is what's historically happened in the 10 years that we had those in Ormond, is you start out discussing, and one person brings up something which spurs you to think of something related or not related totally, because you're sitting there with making your brain brainstorm. That's why we call it brainstorming. It just opens up that pathway for the brain waves to work, and thoughts come to your head, and a lot of times really good ones can come.
Let's hope good ones come. So, okay, let me just finish here real quick. As far as being alerted when situations happen, we do have a public information office, right? So I think it's almost unreasonable to expect senior staff, when they are engaged in an alert or a situation or an event, to say, oh my gosh, let's make sure we fill in, you know, the entire council. Can we just do a text? All we need is a text alert.
We talked this morning, we're gonna do a
That's
text.
all we have to do. Do it, just do a
Just
text.
notification.
Just
Right.
a text notification.
The other thing,
If it's after the event, but, you know, but when it's never, that's unacceptable.
no, that's unacceptable. Point is that we talked about making sure that we did. We were trying, which part of it is we're trying to do things also verbal so we can give people more information. We'll do the text for sure. Part of the confusion here came because we don't have too many of these events where our facility became a sheriff's event. It's rather than an airport event.
Understood.
And so that kind of got a little confusing too. But
But-
Joanne and I talked this morning, and and with George, we'll do a text system.
So I have a question there, though. If the chair and the county chair, or the chair and the vice chair are notified, why aren't the rest of the council notified?
I was notified just as the meeting was starting.
But whenever you were notified, because the rest
I
of us
got
were
a,
never
I got a,
notified.
I got a notice that there was gonna be a press release.
There was no.
Okay, I think let's
It was
move-
on
let's-
Facebook.
Let's move on.
It
I
was on
think-
the News Journal.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
let's move
But
on.
we're gonna do the text, we're gonna do a new
Man,
text
this is
system,
important.
okay?
Yeah, let's move on. We can, there's a fix for this. We'll get the information. If we can just text all of council.
That's how we'll do
Just
it.
that it's an event alert. We'll call it an event alert or whatever.
like that.
And because, okay, I'm gonna change, that's it on that. Second one, because protocol, I'd rather have staff engaged in the event and the alert than making sure that I get information.
Ditto.
But anyway, so I've had a request too from the president of the Vietnam Vets Chapter 1048 and the past commander of the Purple Heart Chapter 316. They're asking for a proclamation to make Volusia County a Purple Heart County. I thought
She did that.
Yeah, we
yeah,
did.
well, he was just asking, that's what I wanted to think, that's
Been
what I
there, done
thought
that.
too, so, we'll get notice to him that that's happened, and just want to get that on the record. He called again, I, make sure we're doing that.
Where are we at on that?
So,
I think it was brought up.
for Purple Heart County?
A couple months ago.
But I'm not sure where
So-
We okay, we never,
Follow up.
we needed, Mr. Manager, if we could get a proclamation to determine that Volusia County is a Purple Heart County, and what the Vietnam vets, what this group would like to do, the Purple Hearts chapter, is do a proclamation. They have a suggested proclamation. If we could just
We'll
get
bring it
that-
back to you at
bring
our
it back.
soonest possible meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, and they would like to be here. This is a big deal. St. Johns
Right.
County is actually doing, this
We
morning is
talked
already
about
really big
it.
event.
Donna brought it to me, and so we decided we would move forward with that. We were
Okay.
gonna add it.
And then, just one fun thing, I would like to suggest, I think we all got invited to the Art House's annual Fun and Funky Dinner this year, where they're gonna honor Senator Dorothy Huckel. I would like to suggest, council, that we sponsor a table there at the Emerald City level for this event on, June 6th. So, that will give everybody a chance to go and have a seat at the table if they choose to attend. And that's all I have.
Dr. Lowry,
I'm good, thank you.
just a couple, and I can't remember where I mentioned this last meeting or not. I know I mentioned to staff, the possibility of adjusting the meeting in July. We have a meeting scheduled for July the 3rd, which is the day before the 4th. And I'd asked staff to see if they could work it into their schedule. And my suggestion was to change the July 3rd meeting to the 10th, change the 17th to the 24th. That way you still have 2 meetings between, or 3 meetings between, or 3 weeks between.
Mr. Chair, we checked, and as you know, on our side, that's fine. If the council wants to do that, it makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So if we need to bring it back to make a calendar amendment at a future meeting.
Well, what I would suggest, if you vote to do that now, then that'll get out to the public, because that way and we'll make the notice. But I would take the action now to say you want to do that, let everybody know, and then that way it'll get out.
Okay.
Need a motion? I'll make that
Need a
motion that we
motion.
do that.
I'll second.
Motion made by Dr. Lowry to change the July meeting from the 3rd to the 10th and the July 17th meeting to the 24th, seconded by Wheeler. Anyone opposed that? Object? No one objected. It passes 6-0.
We'll publicize it.
Okay, thank you. That's it. We get out of here at 12:29.
Homer Jones.
Meeting adjourned.